Well, the Qatar-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas began at 7 a.m. local time, and there have been no reports of fighting so far. It brought some respite for Palestinians who have endured almost 7 weeks of relentless Israeli bombardment. The streets of Khan Yunis in the south of the Gaza Strip were busy. As a first opportunity, people have had to move around without the threat of Israeli airstrikes since October 7. The bombing and bloodshed should stop for 4 days. Nearly 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since October 7. 1,200 Israelis were killed in the Hamas attack. The UN says that 80% of the population of Gaza has been displaced. While the Rafah border crossing with Egypt is open as that ceasefire takes effect, trucks carrying much-needed humanitarian aid are now entering Gaza, and other trucks have been refueling on the Egyptian side, bringing fuel into Gaza. People who had been stuck in Egypt are returning to Gaza, while those wounded are going the other way for treatment.
All right, let's bring in former Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. Well, this has been described. Yes, it's been described as a breakthrough deal, but how much of a breakthrough is it? And did things really have to get to this point to get this breakthrough?
Not really. You know, I believe the last time I was here on one of your programs, I did say that Israel should prioritize the release of the hostages. I also did say that Israel, has the capacity, they actually wanted to go into Gaza and begin to look for the hostages. But look, this is an interesting development. It's a welcome development to start with. And we sincerely hope that that is a first step and that everybody will be rational enough to begin to see opportunity for a peaceful settlement of this, crisis that has been on for decades. A lot of lives have been lost, particularly children in this war.
Over 5,000.
Over 5,000. And look, this is a good opportunity for everybody to step back and begin to say to ourselves, look, the first generation of Israelis fought war, second generation fought war, third generation fought war. Must the rest of the generations of Israel fight? No. And the Palestinians said, look, in this crisis, nobody is innocent. But we are now at a stage after this disaster to begin to ask everybody, calm down, let's make peace. And there is something on the table, the two-state solution probably would be the best. I mean, it's the only option on the table right now. We can only hope that everybody, led by the Americans, the United Nations, will begin to press both sides.
But Ambassador Keshi, this is not the first time we've heard about the two-state solution.
Look, it's been on since the 40s.
Yes. What exactly do you think the two sides or other world leaders, specifically the United States?
Look, both sides at one time or the other rejected the two-state solution. But the truth of the matter is that it's the only option everybody talks about, is the only option currently on the table. Nobody has come up with any new brilliant idea to solve the problem. And when you think about it, it's probably the only way out. Grant the Palestinians a homeland of their own. And let the Israelis, manage their own affairs.
A live and let live situation.
Let's live and let. Look, the Middle East has been the source of the destabilization of the world in the last, as far as I can remember. Go back to 9/11. What happened after post 9/11? The travel regime in this world completely changed. The amount of money the Americans spent in Afghanistan could have contributed to the development of a number of places in the world. So we just must begin to, I just wish African leaders can begin to also speak out loud and clear to say enough is enough. We need some of these resources you are wasting, going to war to develop a number of other places around the world. So this is an opportunity. I sincerely hope, because the way it's expected to work is going to, the ceasefire is going to last for 4 days.
Yes.
After 4 days, if Hamas releases more people, there'll be an extension. Let's hope that at least there are 200 and something hostages. So if you calculate that they could all be released 10 or how many within a period of 2 to 3 weeks, maybe that will calm nerves, and the trauma will certainly still be there on both sides. But the important thing is that there's a need for peace now.
Absolutely. Well, some have actually described this deal as a Biden deal and not necessarily a Netanyahu one. You heard the Pope actually say, look, this is not war, it is terrorism. Is anybody going to pay for the carnage, for the unnecessary destruction of lives in both Gaza and, of course, Israel?
To be candid, I'm among those who hold Netanyahu responsible for this crisis. He has put his ambition far and above the ambition of the state. If he had, this is a man who came in with partial support for the two-state solution. But in order to be prime minister and survive and be the longest serving prime minister, as I like to put it, he went to bed with the extreme far right in Israeli politics. Those who were not prepared to concede even just an inch of land. And it has ended in this disaster. He refused to negotiate with the Palestinian Authority, and one way or the other, was more interested in destroying, not in totally destroying Hamas, but was playing up to Hamas, and this is also what happened. And in the final analysis, here is a man who some weeks ago was boasting, we want to destroy Hamas, but today you are negotiating with Hamas.
Can he destroy Hamas at the end of the day? I mean, he said he wants to achieve two things, destroy Hamas and free the hostages.
I've made this point before, and I'm going to repeat myself. Any group that is fighting a cause they believe is just to them, they've never lost. It takes years or centuries, but they will win.
So in other words, it comes back to peaceful negotiation.
Yeah.
So the two groups and the watchers, and by the way, all of a sudden we'll stop talking about the war in Ukraine.
So unfortunate, so unfortunate.
So
but that's the way the world works. If you remember 2 days ago, when there was a bomb blast at the border, attention shifted from the Middle East to the US-Canadian border. You guys know this better than myself. That's the news cycle.
So speaking of which, now we're talking about a peaceful resolution, solution to this. After the day 4, what else and what more? It brings us back again to how it started, the two-state solution. A lot of people have died. I recall Yasser Arafat was there, a lot of other big leaders in the Palestinian side. What do we expect to see? Because for the first time, we saw an audacious insult to the United Nations.
Yep.
And I know a lot of your colleagues and everyone, lovers of international politics, will be really appalled by that. So how do we get these things back on track to the extent that...
Unfortunately, those who have the, should I say, the powers to lean on Israel to make peace are sending mixed messages. Like the statement that was delivered this evening by the United States President. It's filled up with mixed messages. But the most important thing is that if this peace this deal, 4-day deal can be sustained beyond 4 days, it might actually begin to encourage everybody to begin to think of the next step, possibly what to do. Because right now, there's a tremendous amount of desire in Israel for revenge. There's a desire for the war to continue until Hamas is destroyed. But I make the point, it will be difficult, as they have now learned, to destroy Hamas. You set out 3 weeks ago, boasting that your ambition is to completely destroy and take out Hamas. But today you are negotiating with Hamas. You are going to negotiate with Hamas tomorrow for the release of more hostages. Conventional wisdom dictates that, look, you just talk to your enemy at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Again, I think I've made this point a couple of times on this on your station. I think it's Chinua Achebe's Saints Fall Apart. There's a line there that said, it is sometimes good for the strong man to behave like the weak man in order to make peace.
Absolutely.
That's something the Israelis need to learn.
Do you think Israel crossed the red line in this retaliatory move of theirs? And will they pay for it?
Absolutely they did. But who's going to make them pay?
That's it.
But at the end of the day, it will be in their own interest to stabilize the situation in the Middle East. It will be in their own interest to grant a state to the Palestinian people. It will be in their own interest to help the Palestinians to at least, grow and develop. In labor, there's what you call the pull factor. If this side is developing and everything is on this side and this side is poor, people who are poor from this side invariably move from here to that side. So if they grant them their state of their own and they refuse to be of any help, Palestinians are going to gravitate to Israel and increase the population.
Well, it's a fine place for us to leave it because we already have an example where the East Berlin Wall, when it went down, the East Germany and West Germany. Ambassador Joe Keshi, always a delight speaking with you.
Thank you very much and good evening.